In this video, we are going to review how to graph lines that are written in standard form. Recall that standard form follows this pattern: AX plus BY equals C. In order to graph a line, we need a slope and a point, or we need 2 points. From standard form, we can find the slope by using the pattern negative a over b. So the coefficient of a, we want the opposite one, the coefficient of x, which is a, we want the opposite of that value. And the coefficient of y, which is b, we want that value. If we write a fraction with those two, we get the slope. Once you've found the slope, you need a point. The easiest points to find when you're in slope-intercept form are either the x-intercept or the y-intercept. The x-intercept will have the coordinates some number for x and then 0 for y. And the y-intercept will have some number for y, but then 0 for x. Using this fact, if you plug in 0 for the value of a, then the term ax will become 0, and you can solve for the y-intercept. So let's use our example here. We have the line 5x minus 2y equals 4. So let's start by finding our slope. Our slope is going to be equal to negative a over b. In this problem, a is 5 and b is negative 2. So negative a over b is going to be equal to negative 5 over negative 2. You can leave the slope like that if you need it to count that way. But to simplify it, remember negative over negative is positive, so this line has a slope of 5 over 2. We now need a point. The easiest way is to choose one of these intercepts, and I would suggest sticking with the y-intercept because that's what you're most used to when you're graphing a line in slope-intercept form. So we take our equation, 5x minus 2y equals 4. And if we plug in 0 for x, notice that 5 times 0 is 0. So all we're left with is negative 2y equals 4. If we solve this equation by dividing by negative 2 on both sides, we get a y-intercept equal to negative 2. We now have the information that we need in order to graph our line. We have a slope of 5 over 2, and we have a y-intercept of negative 2. So we put a dot on negative 2 as our y-intercept, and then we count our slope from there. So we can go up 5 from this dot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and positive 2, and our second point is here. If we have space, we would try and graph a third point. We could go down 5 and left 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't have space though, so we don't need to worry about that. We can graph our line by connecting those two dots with a straight line, straighter than that. Hopefully you use a straight edge. So that's how you graph a line that's in standard form. Let's try another one. In this example, 7x minus 3y equals negative 15. In order to graph the line in standard form, we need a slope and a point. Our slope is going to be equal to negative a over b. A is 7. And b is negative 3. So in this case, our slope is equal to negative 7 over -3. Again, that simplifies to just be 7/3, so we have a positive slope. Now we need to find a point, so I suggest we start by finding the y-intercept. If I'm finding the y-intercept, I'm plugging in 0 for x. So instead of x, I replace it with 0, and I'm left with the equation -3y equals -15. Because 7 times 0 is 0, so that term cancels out. To solve this equation, I divide by -3 on both sides. Y ends up being +5. So I have a slope of 7/3 and a y-intercept of 5. So I go to my graph, I plot my dot at +5. Now here we have a situation where my slope, which is 7/3, I can't count up 7. So remember how we wrote the slope the first time, -7 over -3. That -7 over -3, that's the same value as +7 over +3. So we can actually just do our slope, quote unquote, backwards by counting down 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and left 3, 1, 2, 3. So our dot, our second point, ends up being there. We don't have space to do a third point, so connect your dots with a straight line, hopefully with a straight edge, and there is your graph. All right, why don't you pause the video here and see if you can graph this one on your own. Hopefully you graphed it on your own and it looks like mine. The slope is -3 over 5, and the y-intercept is -2. That's it.